Welcome everyone to the POPsUP02. So this is the second edition of Malaysia's big premium event, which is the POPsUP. As you can see, this is going to be a really high stakes match because we've got two really big names in the Malaysian scene. So on the left we have Benjamin Thaver, and on the right we have Derek Wan. I think Derek Wan at this point is a bit of a meme in the Malaysian community, in a good way of course, but he's going to be piloting Nova Grappler, as you can already see from the clan logo that I've put up there, and he's really well known for a Nova Grappler. Like, when you see a, let's say like a top 16 or a top 8 from anywhere in like Malaysia, Singapore, etc., that one Nova Grappler that you see in that top cut is probably going to be Derek. So that's how good of a Nova Grappler player he is. His lists are actually just extraordinary, and his premium list right now is just as much of an extraordinary list. So another thing before I discuss Benjamin is that this fight, this final, this whole VGCS is very exceptional in that it's the first big event since the release of Premium Collection. So now we can see Derek is he called down the shout and he wants to use it, in which both players reveal the top card of their deck. The player with the highest grade card gets to draw a card, and the player with the lowest grade card gets to soul charge one. So let's see what does happen in here, but let me just quickly go over some of Derek's achievements, because I mean some of Benjamin's achievements, because it's a very impressive list. So he has Springfest 2018 Singapore winner, Springfest 2019 Singapore winner, BCS Malaysia 2018 second place, BCS 2018 Standard 4th place, and all of these with Luard, and there's even more. This isn't where the list ends. Alright, so let's see. Derek does reveal the victor there. I'm not sure why he's shuffling. I'm not sure if maybe I missed Benjamin's reveal, but not sure what happened right there, but let's see what does go down. But anyway, so this is a really high stakes match, as I said. Like, these are two really high class players. Alright, and now I think there was some issue with the shuffling or something, or yeah, I'm not sure. But essentially, Derek did have the lower grade, so yeah. I mean, Benjamin did get the grade 3 Luard, and then Derek got the lower grade. So now Benjamin does ride up to the Maka. He uses her skill. I mean, he already essentially used the skill there, but he calls down the grade 1 that draws 1 if you have a ritual, and drive checks the main. And Derek just checked 1 crit and ends his turn there. So let's see. Here we have the magical performer, and this time we see that Derek used his shout again. This time he did draw, and Benjamin was forced to soul charge, which I mean, for Shadow Paladin, that's also just as fine. So let's see how he does proceed. We can see that Derek is, he's being smart, he's hitting under Benjamin's Vanguard, and we're going to see quite a few card choices in here. Their deck lists are public. There are links in the description if you want to see them, because these deck lists are really revolutionary in my opinion. Like, this is probably going to shape the future of the premium meta, like these two decks, honestly, because coming out of Premium Collection hot, this is really gonna change up something. So Derek's list is really good, I think, at like swinging under, and also like obviously having the insane combo potential with the new Bustard Stride. We see Benjamin does ride up to the Luard, calls down another Maka, and then uses her skill to call down the Nemain and draw 1. He's gonna use Nemain skill. He has 2 targets here, either another Nemain, as he does choose it, or the Swordbreaker, but I guess the Swordbreaker is gonna be kept for later. Plus I think he doesn't have any more counterblast either to actually be able to use Swordbreaker's skill. So let's see what he decides to do. Is he gonna actually give some counterblast to Derek as well to work with? So he does attack with the first one. Has a 13k swing to the magical performer. We see a riser come down, and then he gets a heal, which is pretty good, and a stand. However, that does not go off. So carrying on, he swings with the Nemain once again, and Derek does have to guard that again, and then he's going to check the last one, and that's a victor. Derek is now on 4 damage, which is pretty damn huge. So Derek does ride up to the victor. He does get the first stride as well, because Benjamin did ride up. And now he's going to be able to use Victor's skill to draw 1 and call 1 card down, and then give the skill to one of his units that when they attack, he'll be able to stand something else. So he decides to give it to the Vanguard. He calls down an interesting tech, which is the Energy Girl. So here we can see that Derek is using the shout once again, letting Benjamin draw, but getting the soul charge himself, which is obviously very important for this deck because the soul is very scarce and he does need it. That's why he called down the shout from the very get-go. He goes down the kick, and which is going to be really good because it's basically a restander And he also, I didn't even mention his starter choice. Like, his starter choice is Cubotron, which gets another restand in as well, so he doesn't run the V-Series starter either. So he's going to attack with Golsachi, not proccing Golsachi's skill, but he does use the Energy Girl to, I'm assuming, stand the Golsachi, which will then proc our Bustard, which will let him Soul Blast 1, and, yep, turn 1 G-Unit face up and give an extra drive check to our Bustard. He's going to turn face up the G-Guard, which does actually go back face down in the main phase, and so he still has more attacks to go. So now he can attack with the Golsachi. The Golsachi gained a plus 7k buff, so it's going to be swinging for 16. He's having second thoughts. Let's see what he decides to do. So, I mean, I think Golsachi is still the right play here, because then you can use the kick after, or if you don't want to use the kick, then you can, you know, use the Cubotron counterblast here as well. Let's see what he does. He's going to use the kick to stand the Golsachi here. Let's see what he does. So he's using the Bustard skill to Soul Blast 1 and flip another G-Unit face up. Now he chooses, it's a little bit hard to see. I think it's one of the other G-Guards, but unfortunately what you'll notice is that... Oh no, it's not one of the G-Guards, it's the other stride that when something stands you can retire something of lower power. But what you notice is that at some point in the footage there is like a slightly lower focus, and then it focuses in properly a bit later, so that's just, you know, how cameras are. This wasn't recorded by me, I wasn't at this event. You know, this was live streamed actually. I'll leave a link to the live stream. It was live streamed by Hongwai, who streamed the entire event, every single round, so if you want to see a lot of premium goodness from like fresh out of the pack, you know, premium collection meta, you really do want to check that out. I highly recommend it. I'll leave it in the description for you to check it out. It's absolutely amazing. So here he's going to use the Cubotron to stand the kick, which is also a good play. So let's see how this goes. Now he's already at 3 face-up G-Units. That's an extra 3 drive checks already. We don't even have to restand here. So he swings with a kick. Let's see what Benjamin does. He's going to normal guard with the Naoiz. That's an interesting choice as well. We've seen quite a few interesting choices from both players actually, which is, I mean, one of the really amazing things about Premium is that it's really hard to predict some of these deck lists sometimes, because Premium has such an insane card pool that you could really see anything coming up, which is just amazing. So he G-Guard, he's able to check the top 5 cards and guard with every single grade 1 that he finds there, so he puts down the Swordbreaker as well as the grade 1 Ritual Swordbreaker essentially, so that's going to be enough to guard that attack for sure. But I mean, it's good for him because he needs to up his G counts just, you know, to be able to use the skills later on. So we're still going to be able to see, hopefully, going to be able to see the new Morpheso Stride as well. That's definitely very exciting because it is a great card. So now he's going to be able to still stand something because he gave the Victor skill to the Vanguard, and thus when he swings he's able to... Oh wow, that was some intense slapping. So he's going to swing, gets the crit. We're still going through drive checks. There's a draw as well. He's debating on the power. I mean, like, you know, there's not much reason to debate for power here, but he also gets the Luminal there, while only 2 triggers from 8 drive checks. Jesus, that is really low. So plus 5 drives, but only 2 triggers, but definitely a good setup for the next turn. And here, I think at this point there's no real reason to be using the... I mean, I'm pretty sure he's... Oh, he's tempted. He's tempted to use the Bustard. He's using it. He's discarding the Luminal, the kick. What else is he going to take? What else is he going to take? There's still, like, I'm surprised he's going for it, but I can also understand because he's already, like, dwindled his opponent's hand away like crazy. So I can understand the decision, but at the same time, it's a pretty risky one. So let's see. He's not going to take the Luminal. He's dropping the Golsachi instead. So he's going to be able to restand, losing 5 drive checks, but still able to attack with a triple drive, which is definitely very solid. So let's see what Benjamin's going to be doing. Like, this is really quite a scary stride, but again, it's scary, but it's still possible to put it under control. And it doesn't gain that much power, so as Benjamin's about to do, it's pretty easy to guard, I think, as well. So he's going to be able to guard with 2 of his back rows. That's a 15k guard on top of that. Plus, I think that G-Guard also gained some power on its own, but I need to check up on that quickly. But still, like, that is very, very strong. So let's see what it decides to do. Oh no, it does not gain extra shield. That was my own bad. So let's see if it decides to stay here. He gets the crit. Is he gonna go all on Vanguard? Is he gonna do it? This might be it. Oh no. Okay. He put it on Vanguard actually, but that was a 2 to pass there. So unfortunately doesn't hit. But I mean, he still got 2 attacks. Only got 3 triggers out of 11 drive checks, which is pretty sad, honestly. Like, when you think about the possibilities, it's really quite unfortunate. But he's already at GB 6, which means that, like, if he G-guards once now, he has the GB8 next turn, and Nova does have a pretty good GB8. And I think he's got either 9 or 10 cards in hand after using that Victor skill to countercharge 1, soul charge 1, and draw 1 at the end of turn, so definitely looking very good. So let's see, what is he going to do? He's going to be using Luard's skill to stride up. So let's see, he's going to put the grade 1 back on the bottom of the deck, as Luard does, and he's going to stride. Let's see if he's going to show us Morfessa. Yes, he is. Very good. So he's going to be able to first use the Luard's stride skill. And let's see what he's going to be doing. So Morfessa here does have the incredible skill that is, you know, being able to retire 2 of your cards and draw 2, and then make all of your grade 0s count towards your ritual count. And then when you're at, I believe, ritual 10, yes, ritual 10, all of your front row gets a plus 15k buff and a plus 1 crit, including the Vanguard. And when your opponent guards, it's a battle door effect, so they have to guard with 2 or more cards at the same time. So it is still guarding from hand, so it's literally the same as Battle Door. It doesn't apply to G-Guards, but still a very strong effect. So, I mean, especially because Luard right now does multi-attack pretty consistently too, because of, you know, stuff like Dagda. So we're going to see how he's going to show the power of the Morfessa Stride here, and, you know, just to what effect it's going to be popping off in that sense. Because keep in mind that, like, Morfessa's second skill is a continuous. It's not like like at the time, you know, at the time that you, like, I don't know, it's like an axe skill or something where it's like you activate it and it just gives the buff and that's it. No, it's like if with Dagda you call anything else, or if with any other card you call anything else mid battle phase, it's gonna pop off. So here we see that he's using the Morfessa skill to retire 2 and draw 2, and then he's using both of the Abyssal Owls, or Belial Owls rather, to draw 1 for each as well. So very, very strong card. Another thing I should have noted is that actually he runs the regular Full Bow as a starter, but then he still runs the Luard like countercharge starter as his like another grade 0. So there's that as well, which is pretty interesting. Another thing that I think he just did here was that I'm pretty sure I think he used the stand trigger to call 2 cards from the top of the deck, but I'm not exactly sure because he did that quite quickly, so it kind of caught me off guard as well. But Benjamin is really, you know, he's still setting up. The one thing that, like, I've forgotten about Luard from, you know, back in the G days is that this deck takes ages to set up, and really it's like their turns are long as hell. And I remember once, like right after I moved to Japan, I played against Luard basically immediately, and there was this loop Luard deck going around, and I basically got destroyed by that deck, but they took about 10 minutes to set up their turn. Now Benjamin calls down a pretty unique card that we haven't seen in quite some time, which is the Nawiz. Nawiz allows you to check the top 5, I believe, and call 1, I believe a grade 1, and then if it's a ritual card, then he gains extra power. So there's that. But right now we can see that, like, Benjamin is just filtering hard. Like, he's using the Nawiz, he's using his Cursed Eye Ravens to just keep calling stuff out over and over and over again and just be able to pop off. And I think one thing that I actually didn't think about is that Cursed Eye Raven, I believe, does actually trigger stuff like Karen, because Karen just has to be called by an effect. Here he's using the Nawiz again. He's going to be able to use the Karen if he chooses to, but it is a Soul Blast cost, so I think he only has 1 soul there, so gotta be careful with that. But still, there's a lot of cool interactions going on right now, and it's just really exciting. So let's see what Benjamin's gonna do here. He swaps around the Nawiz and the grade 0 as you should, and then let's see if he's gonna commit any harder. So he doesn't look like he has a Dagda or anything on hand, but we'll see. It looks like he's gonna be swinging here. I just wanted to see what he's gonna decide to do here, because this is gonna be really, really interesting. So let's go. He's going to swing with the Nawiz and does boost with it as well. So this already does have the crit on it, and Derek is at the perfect damage of 4, in which this is going to be really threatening. So Derek really has to guard essentially every single attack here, otherwise he's going to be pretty screwed. So right now he is G-guarding. He goes into the G-guard from Fighter's Collection that allows him to flip another G-guard face up, and then every single time he blocks damage, he countercharges 1, which is a very good G-guard, arguably one of the best for an Overgrappler. It doesn't gain any power, which is a bit of a minus, but apart from that, he does still give you this amazing CC ability, which is just so good. So there we see Derek is going to just hard guard the second Naoi's, and now he's going to swing with Vanguard, and he's going to PG that, but he does have to drop an extra card, so let's keep that in mind. And actually, I'm not sure if, I mean, he's been guarding with 2 cards so far, I believe, because he G-guarded, which isn't affected by the Morfessa skill, and then he also guarded with 2 last time. And as we can see, Benjamin does run quite a few stands, meaning that this Naoi's is now still swinging with a crit and with a plus 5k boost from that stand trigger, which is absolutely amazing. So this is really cool. Like, Benjamin is showing off a really cool new build for Luard, I think. Like, this is honestly, I think, going to be the way to go from here on out, and it's just really, really impressive. So he's going to resolve his last 3 Belial Owls to put them back on the bottom of the deck so he can search them out again next turn. And so now Derek is looking still pretty good. He's at GB 10 already. There's only 6 G units remaining, probably most of them being G guards, but the thing is that he can flip some of his G guards face down again, but he needs soul for that, which he only has 1 of, I think. And I mean, like, which makes sense because the Buster does eat up a lot of soul, as you know, I'm sure we all know, but that's kind of the problem here, where he probably needs to use Shout and gamble a little bit. I think, oh, he's also hovering over that Illuminal. Yes, he's gonna actually ride it. Wow. So he wants that Axle Circle. Can't blame him for that. That's definitely a good choice. He's kind of like shaking there, I think, in excitement, because like it's kind of hard to say what's the right choice here. Okay, he doesn't go for the Illuminal. He's gonna drop it for Stride. I mean, I can see both options. Giving yourself the Axle Circle on a GB8 is pretty huge, but his hand doesn't seem that high either in card count, so that's going to be a bit problematic. So he goes for the GB8. The GB8 is going to be able to unattack, restand everything on your board. He's going to use the Victor first to count +1, draw 1, and then be able to call 1 down as well. He does take the Magical Performer, so he gets a second one. These Performers will be huge because every time they stand, or well, the one time that they stand, they gain power, I think, 5k for each of your face-up G units, which is absolutely huge. And he has 2 Energy Girls on there as well, which will at the end of the battle go back to the deck and restand one of your rear guards. So he's not going to use them now because he's going to restand everything when he attacks with the Driger, but this is going to be so huge. So let's see, he's going to attack with the GB8, be able to use the skill to counterblast 1 and stand absolutely everything. And let's see, this is going to be a huge turn. Like, all of those Magical Performers are absolutely massive. Like, it's just huge. The Driger is also going to be swinging for big numbers, and Benjamin's hand is looking that big, and Benjamin's going to say, just go at, just give it to me, bro. Like, he's absolutely taking it. The crit comes down. He gets a heal, though. That's pretty exciting. Let's see if Benjamin can live this out or not. He still needs to take 1 more damage. He's still on 5, actually, which is still good enough. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. Now Derek is counting all the power. Benjamin is on 5, and, like, this is so close. Jesus Christ, like, Benjamin would have died there otherwise. Does he have enough cards in hand to guard the next 4 attacks? This is going to be 2 massive Magical Performers coming at him, which are going to restand, like, both each time. And I forgot no, it's also going to restand once more because of Driger too. So, oh my dear God, let's see what's going to happen. So he can still use the Magical Performer here. So Benjamin is going to perfect guard. Magical Performer goes back in the deck, giving him an extra stand trigger in the deck as well for potential later turns. If Benjamin does survive this, the Magical Performer stands again, gets thrown. He's going to be able to attack with it again, and Benjamin takes that one, and that's 6 damage. And we have game 1 with Derek winning it with a very strong performance. Now, going into game 2 after that very dominating finish by Derek, that was just, it was a really good game in general, just because, like, Benjamin got to show us, like, just how much Morfessa, how much pressure he can really do. Unfortunately, like, with the Dagda, obviously that pressure goes up immensely, but I mean, Derek also played to his outs really well, and he controlled the flow of the game super well, and being able to go from first stride into, like, an 8 drive check busted into, I mean, sadly not that many triggers from all of those checks, but going from that into that GB8 and finishing the game off right there was absolutely immense. So Derek does start and uses the Shout. This time Benjamin does have the higher grade, so Derek gets the Soul Charge and Benjamin gets the draw. He does draw into the Dagda too, which is pretty good. So here Benjamin rides up to the PG. It doesn't get anything, so it doesn't hit him for damage. He didn't call anything else down, so if he would have gotten a trigger that would have actually dealt damage. Here they check the top card, and Derek gets the draw this time. So now he's going to swing under the no, he's swinging not under the Vanguard. He's swinging for the 9k on the 6, so that does hit. And here Benjamin will be able to ride up to grade 2. So I think, honestly, like, this is probably going to be like the kind of game where, again, we're going to see a little bit of grade 2 gaming potentially. So we're going to have to see how this is going to go. So he goes into the Maka and uses her skill to call down the Karen to countercharge 1. Let's see what he's going to do next. Calls another Maka, uses her skill again to counterblast 1, and call another Karen. So this time it's, again, countercharging 1 for the Soul Blast, which works out pretty well since, you know, he is getting extra soul from Derek's shouts. And so, yeah, I mean, Benjamin is just having a good early game, literally nothing to worry about here, I think. He calls down the Raven as well, just to be able to hit for the magic number against Derek's magical performer. Derek's gonna let that pass, he gets a Karen, and we see a crit come down on Derek's side, and then Benjamin swinging for the last attack, and there is a custom riser. So now Derek on 2 damage, you know, still pretty comfortable, but I think he's probably gonna choose to not ride up here, because he wants that first stride, because Bustard as a first stride is absolutely huge, you know, all those drive checks, easy to set up, and like on top of all that, you're already pressuring them with a restand too. So I think here he wants to push Benjamin a little bit up to maybe like 3-4 damage if possible, which is definitely possible because of that kick Typhoon. Because with the kick, he's able to actually restand that other column of the magical spinner. But here he's going to get an extra soul charge, which is also good. I mean, he needs to have as much, like not as much soul as possible. He needs enough soul to be able to actually do his, you know, his main Bustard play. Here, Derek gets the draw. He did swing on rearguard. He gives the power to the other magical performer, which will now restand due to the kick Typhoon's effect. Kick Typhoon's effect does read that when he attacks, if all of your front row units, circles are occupied with a unit, then you're able to counterblast 1 and stand one of your other rearguards. So he's using the skill correctly. There's no nothing wrong here, but because the cards are in Japanese, I'm assuming that they want to check with the judge just to make sure there's no misunderstanding and no misuse of the skill. But Derek is using the skill correctly, there's no issue. So he restood his other column, and this kick column I think is only hitting for 14, so I think, or maybe a bit more, I'm not entirely sure, but regardless, okay, so he's gonna guard that right there, and then he's gonna attack with his magical performer here, which is gonna be hitting for that 3rd damage. So Derek pushed him enough, I think, to the point that if he does have the option to stride next turn, to ride up and stride next turn, then he would be able to do it. But Benjamin is not gonna let that happen, rides the Blaster Dark. Won't be able to do it here because, you know, Derek's got a full board and he's not going to be able to get rid of that whole board here so easily. So he chooses not to use the Blaster Dark here, just rerides it for the sake of just, you know, not being able to give Derek the Sea Breeze turn, because, Sea Breeze isn't as impactful as a first stride, but even then, Nova Grappler can really push through a lot of attacks even without the Sea Breeze, so it's not really much of an issue. So here, Benjamin's still hitting for the magic number 14, Derek does take it, goes up to 4 damage, but does heal off one of them, so down to 3, and then Benjamin is attacking with his Dagda, which will be very impactful if he can stride next turn, but we'll see if Derek does give him that first stride, but I think, like, Derek's hand isn't that high, so I think you don't want to give it to him just yet. So he doesn't want to give it. He's going to use the shout, gets himself a Victor, and Benjamin gets the soul charge, calls down another shout. Here, is he going to use the skill? Yes, he is. They check, and Derek gets another draw. I think here, Derek wanted the soul charge more, actually, rather than the extra draws. So, ooh, he gets a stand, the Energy Girl, so he's able to give something plus 5k power too. So this is still going to be an 11k column, swinging to the Maka. So he's going to try to get rid of that. I think it's good to pressure here, but at the same time, attacking the Vanguard here makes sense too, because if he can push him to 4, that means that now if Benjamin does ride up to grade 3, Derek can push next turn with the Bustard for a insane turn because of how much pressure he would be putting on him being at 4 damage. So let's see if Benjamin is going to ride up here, because he could still stall potentially, he could still play out the grade 2 game, try to kind of, you know, out-resource his opponent, but the fact that Derek has also drawn 2 cards from those 2 shouts is also kind of detrimental to Benjamin. So he does ride up to the Luard, calls down another Luard here. Gonna be a pretty standard play, gonna swing with the rearguard Luard, then swing with the Vanguard, swing with the Maka, and then probably just pass. But, there's not really much else that he can do. So let's see, he does let it through, and there's a crit coming down, a second crit, oh no. Is this gonna be game 2? Really? He could have guarded that. There's a draw. Can he get the heal? No, there's a kick typhoon, and Derek goes to 6, and that's it for game 2. That's really unfortunate, honestly. That is honestly not the best way for Derek to lose, or I guess for Benjamin to win. I mean, obviously a win is a win, you can't really complain, but damn, after that spectacular game 1, that is a pretty sad game 2, resulting in a double crit. Like, to be fair, to be entirely fair, we haven't seen many of Benjamin's triggers. Like, we've seen like a heal, 2 heals I think actually, we've seen a stand trigger that he called down, but apart from that we didn't see any of the crits, so I guess, like, variation wise it makes sense that the crits would come down at that time, but I mean, I don't think anybody expected for him to hit a double. So yeah, I mean, that's Vanguard. It does happen even in Premium, so that is slightly unfortunate, but we'll see if we can get a good Game 3 going to see who will be the champion of the second edition of the POPsUP event. So I mean, this event is honestly really cool. It doesn't have a Switch prize as, you know, we did have in the gift VGCS, which you see the playmats of right here. Also, I should mention that if, you know, you guys really want to, I also have the top 4 match that I could potentially commentate. And don't forget that the whole live stream is in the description, so you can check out every single round that took place in the description, and you can also just see every single round of premium goodness. So, like, all of the whole live stream is on Hongwai's channel. It'll be in the description. Do check that out if you haven't seen it already, because honestly, it was a really cool tournament, definitely worth watching, because this is the first tournament after Premium Collection. Like, this is really what the meta is shaping up to be, you know, and these are 2 of the, really, like, the kings of this meta right now, and I think it's really exciting just for that reason. So, we see Benjamin went for that double, well, triple Nemain, I guess, right up to the Naois. He uses his Nemain, probably searching a Swordbreaker here, because he can afford the Counterblast. So let's see if he goes for that. Yes, he does, so he gets the extra draw from that. But Derek already used a Shout. You know, it's really good. I think Shout is a very important card right now because you need that extra soul for Bustard. It really goes to show how important Bustard is and how important the setup for Bustard is as well. Here is going to be a 1 to pass, but he doesn't pass because Derek got his defensive trigger. So that is ending Benjamin's turn prematurely. So uses the Shout, both get a grade 1, so they both draw. Use another Shout, both get a grade 2, so they both draw. Damn, that's not optimal. That's definitely not optimal. Like, Shout is a really good card because you like both results, obviously, but right now in this stage of the game, you want that soul charge a bit more because I think he's only been drawing so far, and you know, after 3 Shouts, you would think that you'd get that soul charge. And another thing to note with Shout is that, you know, if you're gonna try to play the long game, which in these kind of matchups where both decks have the most insane first stride, you know, it is probably going to be a long game. You need to be aware of how much you're using the skill so you don't deck yourself out. Like, that's really important to note and, you know, to not lose sight of, because it is just it's a very good card, but it does have its drawbacks, so you need to be very aware of that. So Benjamin rewrote his grade 2, not going to grade 3 yet, gonna grade 2 game for a little bit, gotta stall here, because, like, that's the thing post-Premium Collection. Right now, I mean, this was already true before Premium Collection, but right now especially, first strides are just insane. Like, Nova before Premium Collection had winning champ, sure, amazing stride, very good first stride, you know, good at controlling the board, good at adding extra power, but doesn't necessarily have the same oomph as Bustard does as a first stride. Whereas for Shadows, you don't want to give them first stride either, because, I mean, are you ready to face, like, up to 5 attacks with crits and massive power going at you because of the Morfessa? Like, if anything, you might want to only ride up early if you can see that your opponent isn't ready yet to do the Ritual 10. So if you see that they haven't set up their drop zone enough yet, then sure, you want to be using it there. But I think otherwise, it's a very hard matchup against, I think, for Derek, because he has to time when he's going to ride up pretty well if he wants to let his opponent have the first stride. So Derek is doing a good play, swings with the Riser to the grade 1, and now he's going to be able to use the Kick Typhoon to restand that entire column, because, I mean, even if Shout was rested, he can still be stood through the Riser Customs effect. Here he's going to swing with the Magical Performer. He gets a heal there, which is also good, and we see a Luard come down to Benjamin's damage zone. So here he swung for the last rear, just kind of trading blows, making sure that in terms of advantage that Derek stays on top. Benjamin rides grade 2 once again, this time going for the Maka. Gonna be able to use her skill to counter +1 and call any of his grade 1s. Probably going for that Karen. Nope, he goes for the Nemain as well. Instead. He gets his extra draw from the Maka there as well. Calls down the Dagda. I mean, obviously you do need the Dagdas for that kill turn. I mean, Morfessa is good even without the Dagda, obviously, but the Dagda does add insane amounts of pressure on top of that. So he's gonna swing with the Vanguard here. Let's see what Derek's gonna do. He's possibly dropping the heal there, which is, you know, you want to keep that for your G-guards, but the way that this game has been flowing, probably not gonna happen. So there we go, he gets nothing on there, he gets a draw, which is good, so Derek is able to actually get himself an extra card, and he puts the power in the Kick Typhoon, which is a good call, I think, so definitely very nice. Let's see, draws into the Victor. Will he give Benjamin the first ride? I think here it's a bit too late now to ride up to grade 3, because at this rate he can definitely set up. Ouch, both of them get grade 0s. Derek still hasn't gotten a soul charge, I think, from the Shout, which is really unfortunate. They keep hitting the same grade, which is honestly very low percentage of like a chance of that happening. Okay, finally he gets himself the soul charge. Only one though, that's still pretty low, so yikes, that's pretty alarming here. So let's see what he's gonna call down. Calls down the Stride Fodder just to be able to swing with it onto the Nemain, which he is gonna do. Then he's gonna attack with the Magical Performer on the Dagda, I assume, just to be able to hit it. So he's going to let that through. He gets the Golsachi and then swings with the Kick on the Vanguard, and he's able to use the skill here actually as well, but he chooses not to, since I guess he sees that there's no real point. So he is, I mean, there's still actually, I mean, there is really no point, because at this rate, if he gave his opponent the other damage, there's a chance that Benjamin still runs the Sea Breeze. You know, we don't know that at this, like, if you're in the game. So yeah, you don't want to give him the second face-up damage just to, you know, give him the Sea Breeze. Sure, that's not the best first stride, but it is going to turn on some skills and, you know, just overall change the way the game's going to flow. So Benjamin's still not riding, still going to choose to stall for a bit, calls down the Nawiz and the Maka. Like, I think this game honestly shows what's really interesting is that Luard as a deck has transformed so much over the years. It's actually crazy. So, you know, Luard at the start was this, you know, generation break reliant, has to set up for a while, and in general just takes its time, you know, back then. And even when it got some support, it was still relatively generation break reliant and would have to like sweat a little bit when fighting for first stride. Whereas now, with all the standard support that Shadow Paladin has gotten, it's this like early game king. Like, it really plays the early game so well without really much stress, and that's honestly really amazing. So we see that Benjamin was counting his hand for a little bit. It's absolutely massive, but as I was saying, like, Luard, because of things like Maka, Nemain, Swordbreaker, Blaster Dark, etc., it's able to play the early game so easily now. It really doesn't have to sweat about like fighting for first stride, because it can usually win those battles most of the time. Unless, I mean, I guess Novographer might be its worst matchup, just because they can actually get multi-attacks before riding up to grade 3 as well, because of the Kick Typhoon. So that's something to consider as well. That's really something to consider, because like the deck is really threatening. And oh my god, once again the same grade. Shout just keeps checking the same thing for both players, and that's not what not what Derek wants to see here. Derek wants those soul charges. He has only, I think, 5 soul right now, which is, I mean, it's enough, I guess, but yeah, I mean, it's just something to think about. He's gonna use the second one. Let's see, can they both? Okay, this time Derek gets the draw and Benjamin gets the soul charge, so I mean, that's fine too, I guess, but I think he's still wanting the soul. I mean, that's why he keeps using it. So he's gonna swing to Vanguard with a 1 to pass. Let's see if Benjamin's gonna give in to the pressure or not, because I think here for him it's kind of just like, you know, he doesn't even have to. I think he wants to pressure Benjamin a little bit just to see if he takes the second damage, you know, and risking a potential crit coming down or something, or if he's gonna guard it. He's gonna guard it with a no pass, and let's see, that's gonna be the Luminal. That's interesting. We haven't seen Illuminal come out yet, and that's, I think, one of the things that potentially could help Derek win this game as well, because Benjamin is pushed to 4. Illuminal does a lot when your opponent's at 4, because if they don't, if they guard against an attack, you can actually withstand the thing that they guard against. So that is something to worry about. Here, Derek is already counting his deck. Like I said, this is the double-edged sword when it comes to Shout. So you need to use him. You need that extra soul. You need the extra draws, etc. but if you're gonna run into decking yourself out, then I don't know if it's worth it, because right now, because of how low his deck is getting, he's potentially shutting down his first Stride Bustard, and that's pretty sad. Like, without Bustard, this deck is still gonna be doing crazy things. You know, he can go for the winning champ and then still set up his face-up G units enough to the point that he can have a good favorite champ turn. He's gonna take that attack, gets the draw, which is obviously good, but yeah, I mean, at this rate, like, I think Bustard is soon gonna be out of question for Derek's plays. So yeah, what do you do if you're Derek? I mean, you've got a big hand, you can definitely work with what you've got, and I think the other thing that he could be considering is that he's not the only one that's low on cards in the deck, because Benjamin, outside of all these shouts, etc., he's been drawing through Makas, he's been searching through Nemains, etc. So I think Benjamin does have actually a lower count of cards in deck, because when they draw, they both draw. When somebody soul charges, the other person draws, you know? So the cards are actually coming out of the deck at the same rate, but for Benjamin it's a couple cards faster. So especially if Benjamin decides to ride up to grade 3, there's a chance he'll deck out first. So does Derek just play the long game here and try to deck to actually deck Benjamin out? It might be the option. Maybe that is what he's going for here, because he's got enough cards in hand to guard against these, like, what, 3 attacks per turn? I mean like maybe 4 if he checks a stand, but he shouldn't be sweating here. I think he can actually control it. He's got a lot of cards in hand. He can keep using shouts, because no matter how many shouts he uses at this stage, he will be ahead of cards in deck than Benjamin. The only thing is that if he does choose to actually give Benjamin the first stride, that's when it becomes a problem, because then the owls start going back to the deck, Luard can start putting cards back to the deck as a stride cost, and so that's when Derek starts to lose the deck out war. So I don't know what's the right play here, but Benjamin does finally ride up to the Luard. He's going to choose to end the stalling here, calls down his second Luard, and he's going to just swing with the 16 here. Derek is counting his deck, because I think he's got like 15, no, not even, I think like 10 or 12 cards in deck remaining, which is honestly pretty low. So let's see if he counts it. That looks like a 12, I want to say. It's a bit hard to see, but I mean, they're both counting. Derek's is clearly lower. His is really just about like 10 or 11 as well, but still should be lower. So maybe, so we have 4, 4, I think Derek's got exactly 12 or 13. So barely ahead. But Benjamin will be, he'll be twin driving here. So he's just checking, Derek is just checking the Luard wording, because, I mean, it's gonna be kind of countering his win con in a sense, unless he chooses to stay on grade 2, in which case he's just losing out on advantage, and Benjamin's gonna be drive checking twice and adding more pressure to him, and that's gonna be the question of, does Derek keep up with that? But even then, then Benjamin can just stride next turn just because of the new stride rule. So because he's already on grade 3, he can stride next turn automatically. So there's that. But here, Derek does have to guard against this attack, and I'm pretty sure he has no choice. He has to go for his stride next turn, go into the winning champ. I think maybe Benjamin's goal was actually to wait out until Derek's cards in deck are low enough. And ooh, here he guards with the Starlight Hedgehog. That's something I really wanted to see, because I think in one of the Swiss rounds, which again you can check out in the live stream in the description, he actually did use the Starlight Hedgehog, because Starlight Hedgehog gives the skill to one of your units when you ride it or call it, that you can, when it stands, you can countercharge 1 and draw 1. And so it's a once per turn ability, but for the early game, considering you have Kick Kick Typhoon, that's really, really good. So honestly, I was really hoping that we could see some, just some of the cool Starlight Hedgehog action here, but unfortunately we will not, I think. I mean, maybe you can still call it out, but he did guard with the one copy he had in hand, so it's a bit unfortunate, but I do recommend you to check out the Swiss rounds if you want to see it in action. So there's that. Also, again, as I said earlier, if you really like this video, if you really enjoy the commentary here from, fresh out of the box, premium collection meta, I do have the top 4 match I could commentate as well, but I mean, you really do have to show your support for that, because, these commentaries do take quite a bit of time to go through. So that's just something that's up to you guys, so do let me know in the comments, etc. Share this video with your friends, that does help out as well. So just that kind of thing. So here, Derek does get the power of first stride. Is he gonna choose to take it? This really goes to show that Shadows have 2 amazing first strides. You've got the Dragobis, and then you've got the new Morfessa, and then Novas they have Winning Champ and the new Buster, 2 insane first strides as well. So yeah, Derek is gonna pay the stride cost, same card as his Vanguard, which would be ideal for a Stark turn, but I mean, you don't really need Stark here right now. Benjamin's only on 3 damage. I don't think the game can end here necessarily, because, I mean, it depends what he calls down. Maybe if he calls down like a Kick Typhoon or something, then that'll add to it, but it's not going to be as impactful as his first stride on game 1, because that one was absolutely just crazy. Like, the amount of attacks he did there was crazy. Then the GB8 that he went into after that was also insane. So yeah, I mean, it's going to depend. We're going to see how things will go, because it's going to be pretty intense. So let's see. At least Derek shouldn't be decking out because of the Winning Champ. Like, he'll draw an extra card from Victor, he'll draw an extra card from the Winning Champ, but I mean, the main goal with Winning Champ is just to build up a lot of power and be able to hit him with multi-attacks and kind of, you know, pressure him enough. So he changes his stride cost. Instead of the Victor, he wants to go for the Luminal instead, which is fine. But I kind of wish we would have seen some in Luminal action too, because I mean, I think he's good for the early game in that sense, and he's able to, you know, pressure his opponent a lot, especially when he was at 4 damage, because like if it doesn't hit, he gets an extra attack mid-battle phase, and if it does, then you get a bunch of power as well. So it's a very good pressure unit, both in standard and premium. It really like reshaped Nova Grappler in standard as well. You know, like that's like Beast Deities are looking to be one of the best decks in the format, honestly. But like now in premium, like Nova is one of the best decks in premium, like undoubtedly, unquestionably one of the best, and so that's just really intense. And one interesting thing about the POPsUP is that of all the decks that participated, the one that had the most representation was actually Dark Irregulars, because of that new stride, but unfortunately we didn't see any of it. And we see Derek there still using the Shout. He used it there to try and get one more soul, I think, but unfortunately it led to a double draw because it was the same grade, which is pretty unfortunate. So here Derek is swinging with the Riser Custom, trying to push for that 1 damage. He'll be able to restand it with the Golsachi, or he can actually restand it with the Kabutron, then attack with it, and then attack once again with the Golsachi there. Ooh, Benjamin checks a heal. That is really unfortunate. That's going to help him survive this turn for sure. So here he's going to swing with the Golsachi, boosted by Kabutron, attacking on the Maka. Let's see, I think he's using the... It is the Golsachi skill here, and he is flipping face up 2 G units because 2 units did stand, so he's able to do all that. Oh no, he used the and now he's using the Kabutron there to stand the Golsachi as well. So he gets the 3rd G unit face up, but he still has 1 more stand to go because he gave the Victor skill to his Vanguard, which says that when he attacks, he's able to stand 1 unit. So swings with the Golsachi for a 21k. Because he does get the plus 5k from the Winning Champ and the plus 7k from his own skill because he stood. So let's see, he guards that with the Naois because he does have, I mean, it's only a 5k guard. This is a 14 plus 10, so that's a 24, swinging on rear guard, I think. So yeah, let's see. He is going to be, like, Benjamin's checking the soul, doesn't really matter, he's only going to be able to use it 1 more time here. And he won't be able to get the draw from Victor either because he actually has too much soul to use it. So yeah, I mean, I think with Winning Champ it's a bit of an overshoot with a soul, but I mean, otherwise, it's all good. So let's see what he's gonna be doing here. Let's see, so Benjamin definitely pressured here. It is, you know, a scary turn regardless, but he chooses to guard it with the 15k with the new critical trigger from the premium collection. So uses the Winning Champ to stand the Golsachi and Soul Blast 1 to get another face-up G unit, another 5k power on Winning Champ. So now Winning Champ is sitting at a plus 20, which is definitely huge. Benjamin is going to PG that, and then we see Golsachi, Riser Custom, and a Victor. Sadly, nothing there. Does retire the Raven, though. I think that's the best target here because everything else, like, you snipe in the main, another one comes back. So definitely the Raven is the better target because at least he can't put that back to deck now. And I think, I mean, when Benjamin's on that, like, so few cards in deck, one of the pressure points is that what if he just thins his deck when it's to the point it's only stands? And then that's where Morfessa becomes super scary because if you've got like Dagda and like a bunch of stands in your deck, then that's gonna be really scary. So I think that's something for Derek to consider as well. But Derek's just gonna swing with the Golsachi to the Luard, make sure that if he wants to call down stuff, he's gonna have to deck search or call, you know, cards from hand for that as well. So Derek doesn't use Victor's skill here. Because he does have, you know, more than 1 face-up units in the damage zone, and also he has, I mean, more than 1 soul as well, so no use of the skill here. but let's see what he's gonna do. So Benjamin is able to stride now finally. He's gonna be able to go into, I think optimally here you go for the Morfessa, since Derek is on 5 damage, he does go for the Morfessa. So he's still gonna be able to use Luard's stride skill to search out some cards, but I think he's just counting his ritual counts. I think with Morfessa's skill here, he's definitely fine. The only pressure is that because he's so low on cards in deck, like, he'd have to deck search here if he wants to, but then to activate Morfessa's skill, he has to draw 2 cards as well. So he is deck searching for the Karen here. I'm assuming he will Soul Blast to get himself the counter charge as well, because that's going to be impactful as well. So he still gets the retire, I believe, or no, he doesn't actually, because it wasn't a, yeah, never mind. So here he's using use the Karen to Soul Blast 1 to counter charge 1, and now he's still, like, if he, I don't know if he has enough grade 1s for the Ritual 10. I think he does have to actually use Morfessa's skill to activate the, conversion of the grade 0s to count for Ritual. So we only see, what, 7 cards in deck, which is pretty low, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't run draw triggers, because we've seen stands, we've seen 2 types of crits, we've seen the new Fighters Collection one, I mean the new, not Fighters Collection, Premium Collection one, as well as the Abyssal Owl. So he used the Morfessa skill to essentially, draw 2 and make it so that grade 0s count for Ritual. He's using the stand trigger skill now to check top 2 and call up to 2 of them in rest. He calls 1, just the Maka, which is fine too. So he's definitely deck thinning just to make sure it's all stands. So he's putting back another stand, gonna be able to check the top 2, and the good thing is that he doesn't have to actually call them. He doesn't necessarily have to, so I think he's just deck thinning, making sure that they're all just, normal units. But he does call down the crit there. Not sure why. Maybe he really just wants it to be stands only, so I think he maybe just saw like a stand crit. I mean, you could even like call down the stand there and then be able to use it again to just like keep filtering and making sure that your deck is almost all stands. But we see actually there's one in his drop zone as well that was retired by Derek last turn, so that is quite unfortunate. So he's gonna put back both of those cards on the bottom of the deck. Now I think he knows his his stack pretty well. He's gonna put back one of his Esras, has to retire the Maka to put back one of them to hand. So now there's one normal unit back in the deck. Maybe could have used that earlier to call that out instead, because now there is the question that, oh, like what if he checks like PG and like a heal and a crit or something instead of checking, the reliable stands. Calls down the Dagda. This is going to be huge because Dagda can actually search out some extra cards during the battle phase to call down, and let's keep in mind Morfessa's extra crit skill is a continuous, meaning that anything that is called down afterwards will receive the buff and the extra crit as well. So yikes, this is going to be really scary for Derek. He has a big hand, but I don't know if that's enough to survive it. He has a G-Guard in hand for sure, but is it enough to survive this? I mean, I'm sure it's enough to survive these 3 attacks, but is it enough to survive the extra attack that Dagda pulls out and the potential extra attacks that the stands could also result in? Because like Benjamin hasn't been filtering for nothing. He's trying to make sure that like the possibility of him checking a stand is as high as possible. So yeah, that's pretty scary. So here we see Benjamin's gonna call over his crit, calls down the, like, I guess ritual style Swordbreaker. I always forget her name, but yeah, so he's gonna attack with the rearguard Luard here with the extra crit pressure. This should be, I think, a 20k to guard, if I'm not mistaken, because it's a 19 plus the 10, or is it 15 that Morfessa gives? So let's see. I mean, we'll be able to judge it from how Derek guards this. So he's gonna G-Guard. What's he gonna go for? I think he doesn't need anything apart from the Dogen Titan. Yeah, so Dogen Titan gets an extra 10k, so that's going to be a 30k shield, putting him at 41. So that's definitely good. So that does give us, kind of a pointer on how much power that was attacking for. So here he's using the Dagda to call out the Karen, and what's going to be the second target? Will he call the PG maybe? Because he did put that back to deck, because like the deck thinning still isn't over. He can still deck thin more, and so let's see, he really wants to make sure that those stand triggers come down. He put one card face down. Oh, so he still has one more normal unit. So he had 3 at least normal units, because he had the Karen and, the as I said, ritual style Swordbreaker. But on top of that, he still has the PG in deck as well. So I guess at this point, he's really tried to make sure that there's as much of a chance of those stand triggers popping up as possible. I think he's got 3 in the deck. I'm not sure if he runs any others, we haven't seen them yet, but let's see. So he does G-Guard here, he goes for another copy of the Dogen Titan, and so that should be enough. That is a 25k shield, putting it up to 36. Oh boy, this is definitely scary. So let's see, he's gonna hard guard that. That's a 20k shield right now. Let's see if Derek can, he needs 5 more, I think. Yep. I think that is enough. Or does he still need another 5? No, that is enough, okay. So now Benjamin is swinging with a decisive Morfessa. Does he have the PG to guard it? He does have the PG, but does he have enough to guard everything else that might come out? Oh, and oh yeah, he had to guard with an extra card because of Morfessa's skill, but he gets a stand. He gets the PG and another stand. Oh my god, is this it? Is this it? Like, don't forget that Derek has to guard with 2 cards. I forgot part of Morfessa's skill is actually to make Derek guard with an extra card from hand. I don't think he has enough cards in hand here to guard this. I think he might have to actually YOLO this, and he doesn't have enough heals left either. I think he was checking that. Yikes, I don't know. And he concedes, and that's gonna be game. So Benjamin is the winner of the POPsUP02. Spectacular game by both players. You know, really showed what the premium meta looks like post premium collection. So if you like this video, do let me know, and I might upload the top 4 as well. But do check out everything in the description, as I said, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.